Are still enjoying the afterglow, if you will, of a wonderful game against the Packers where the Bears came up with a big win. And so now we move on to our next big opponent. I want to bring in an anchor from our sister station, Mark Ragonadino, who is a sports anchor in LA. Thank you so much for your time.
Great to be here, and yeah, I mean, I heard the lead in right there, a little trash talk right off the bat. So let me kick things off here. Then we're about to hit 72 degrees out here in Southern California today, so it's gonna be tough to beat that.
Tough to beat that, but we look at it as maybe Mother Nature kind of playing into our hand that we're looking at below zero wind chills for you all to usher you into our environment on Sunday. What a wonderful thing for us.
Looking forward to Soldier Field being rocking. I actually have a little sweet spot in my heart for one side of my family that grew up out in that area in the Deerfield and Highland Park and Highwood area. So I know about some of those cold winters there on the lake. But as we're talking about this game, that is one of my concerns. Matthew Stafford the Rams quarterback hasn't exactly had the best record in some cold weather games. Just look to last year when they lost to the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC playoffs. So hoping this year is going to be a turnaround. And by the way, I'm not sure if you're aware of this history. It was 40 years ago yesterday that these teams met in the NFC Championship, which of course was part of that great road on the way to the 85 championship season for your Chicago Bears.
That is true. We know that history around here quite well. We definitely are hoping, we're hoping for the same results this time around. Let me ask you this. As you're studying the Bears, what do you pick up for your opponents on Sunday?
The big thing that's going to be one of the matchups is actually the Rams receiving core against the Bears secondary. You saw some of the Packers receivers be able to get free and get open for some good looks. And I think that if Matthew Stafford can connect, obviously Puka Nacua is one of the best receivers in the NFL. But you look at the possibility of Terrence Ferguson, a really athletic tight end coming back from a hamstring injury. You've already got Colby Parkinson, who caught the game-winning touchdown this past weekend, who's looked pretty good. So I think the matchup between the Bears secondary, can they keep track of the Rams receiving core and make life difficult for them? And certainly you would think that the conditions would actually help in that aspect.
Yeah, and you mentioned a few injuries there. Matthew Stafford having the finger injury. Now, is this a lot of times before games there's a lot of hype about an injury and really it's nothing, or sometimes there really is a bad injury that players try to play through? Which one do you think it is?
Somewhere just a little more mild than bad injury. And if there's anything I've learned about Matthew Stafford since him coming here to Southern California and not only leading the Rams to a Super Bowl, but really being one of the better West Coast teams for the last 4 or 5 years, it's that the guy is a gamer. He's going to be fine. He's going to be able to play through whatever is ailing him in that finger. I think you even saw it in the second half. Against Carolina. He was still throwing the ball a pretty good zip in outdoor conditions out there. So I'm not worried about Stafford at all, to be honest. I'm not really worried about the Rams offense. I think that the one thing, if you're a Bears fan, that you're looking at is the fact that this Bears team has continued to find ways to do it. They're, one of the best second half teams in the NFL, especially in the second half of the season. That Caleb Magic, the magic carpet ride, as they're calling it they're calling the magic carpet ride for this team that continues to find a way to fly their way into wins, especially late in the fourth quarter. That's something that's real, I think, at this time of year. And I saw that speech from Caleb with Coach Ben Johnson in the locker room, how emotional that team got, how together they seemed to be. I think those are real things that play in favor of the Bears.
And Ben Johnson does have a connection to Matthew Stafford. How do you think that will help or hurt?
I think because personnel changes at this point, I don't think it's going to be a huge factor. Does he know some of his tendencies? Of course he does. Does he know from Matthew Stafford probably saying in the past, hey, I don't like it when pressure comes from this part of the field. I don't like it when a defense does this to me. You're going to try and use those things. But remember, Stafford knows he's had those conversations too. So, right, so Stafford, it's going to be that chess match. It's going to be Stafford saying, I've told him this in the past. I know that this is what he knows that I do and don't like. So we need to trend away from that, or, really lean into that. Those are going to be, I expect this actually, despite what we're talking about temperatures, I expect both teams to get in the 20s in this game. So I think we're talking about a really good, another good, as you guys just had, another really good back and forth affair.
Yeah. And if we're being honest, one of our challenging points has been that a lot of our success comes in that second half. If you're being honest about your team, maybe what's the biggest challenge for you all?
I think the biggest challenge for the Rams will be, if they do get into the lead, do they play well from the front? You saw it this past week against Carolina. They had a chance right before halftime to hit Puka Nacua for what would have been a third first-half touchdown. And I think if they the ball hit him in the hands, he dropped it. If they hit that, they go with a double-digit lead into halftime likely, and I think they actually win the game by double digits. But they didn't do that, right? So if they get out in front early, can they then really just press down on the Bears and not give them that little bit of hope, that light at the end of the tunnel to think, wait, we've been here before. We've done this in previous games this year. They have to play from the front with strength and authority. And I hate to use this phrase, but right, you want to put your foot on their back and say, you're not getting up this time.
Well, we certainly have gotten back up many, many times before, and we're hoping that we're not even in that situation this time around. We want them to, from out the gate, have some energy about themselves and really watch this. We call them the cardiac bears. Have you heard us call them that?
And I will say this one thing, as a guy who loved the Bears in the 80s, I wouldn't mind seeing a new rendition of the Super Bowl Shuffle if the Bears do, in fact, make their way back to the big game in a couple of weeks.
I think some folks are probably working on some things. I think right now they're all in it's Chicago mode right now. But let me ask you, as the Rams have really been one of the teams to watch the entire season. I mean, for the Bears, people have kind of come along. Our season, we've gained strength as it's gone. We're a team that has younger players, that a new coach, and things have been gelling along the way, maybe hitting a stride at the right time. But, what we looked like at the beginning of the season did not give us the idea that we'd be where we are now. For your team, for the Rams, do you think like you all are living up to the expectation at the beginning of the season, or where do you see things?
No question, the Rams have shown flashes this season that they are clearly one of the elite teams in the NFL. And so when you mentioned coaching and Ben Johnson, when you get to this point in the season and you look at the Rams head coach and Sean McVay, he's pretty much seen it all, including taking his team all the way to the top to win the Super Bowl a few years ago. So the Rams, and you mentioned your young team for the Bears, the Rams have a lot of players that experience in this type of scenario, that are experienced into this point of the season. And I think that could be one of the things really that pushes them over the top. So to answer your question about living up to expectations, I do think, and that's the reason why Matthew Stafford is a front runner for the NFL MVP this season, I do think they have lived up to the expectations. But have they done it consistency would probably question 1A or 1B, excuse me. Have they done it consistently? No, they have not. And this is an opportunity to show that they can do that.
Okay. Just on a final note here, what's it been like covering them this season for you?
Really good. I mean, the Rams, Sean McVay on any given day can open up the book a little bit and give you some really good things to think about. I think the emergence of a player like Blake Corum to now have a 1-2 punch in the backfield has been something great. I mean, the connection between Matthew Stafford and Davante Adams in just 1 year together. I mean, Bears fans know all about Davante Adams from his days with the Packers, has been really good as well. And the emergence of the defense getting better over the course of the year, getting some guys back from injury, a defense now that's gone on a couple of years without having former defensive mastermind in Aaron Donald. The way that they've come together more as a collective unit has also been a really big positive for the Rams. So I think there's a lot of positive storylines, as there is for both teams, if we're being totally transparent and honest here. And that's why I think this could be the game of the weekend.
Well, we'll all be tuned in for sure, and we'll call you back if the Rams lose. if you all win, you know, we don't know.
Sounds like a side wager over here. Okay.
Mark, we don't know you by Monday if y'all win, but if you lose, you're welcome back here anytime. Take care. Thank you so much for your time. It's about 2:30, everyone. Great conversation, you know. It's friendly banter at this point in time. And like I said, I don't think the level of smack talk in any venue is going to rise to the level of what it was last weekend, primarily because it was the Packers. We'll see what happens this weekend. We're certainly hoping for another Bears win around here. Bear down. It's 2:30.
Don't miss a moment of Chicago sports. Hit subscribe and stay in the game. Highlights, analysis, and all the action from Fox 32 Sports.